Hello everyone. So in this particular video, we are going to learn about the Azure Synapse Analytics. Azure Synapse Analytics is a very much important from an Azure data engineer perspective. So if you are preparing for the Azure data engineer role, definitely you should know about the Azure Synapse Analytics. Even if you'll see any kind of the job description also, they definitely mention about the Azure Synapse Analytics. So that only we are going to learn. We are going to learn end to end. First, we will understand what is Azure Synapse Analytics, and after that, we practically how to create a Synapse Analytics and what are the operations we can do in Azure Synapse Analytics. Everything we are going to learn. So let's start. Let's first understand what is Azure Synapse Analytics. So Azure Synapse Analytics, it is an integrated analytical platform in Microsoft Azure that brings together big data and data warehousing. Let's try to understand with the example. So whenever we work in a company, what kind of the challenges and what kind of the operation generally we do, let's try to understand. So suppose I am working in one analytical company, or I am working in one of the data company or data project. So let's try to understand. So whenever we work in a company, definitely you will see our data generally is available into the multiple place. Our data generally available into the multiple place. For taking example, suppose I have a few data that is coming as a JSON format, and suppose this data is available in a data lake. Suppose this data is available in a data lake. Suppose my few data is available in a SQL server, and that is a on-prem, that is available in a on-prem. Now suppose few data is available into the another DB, suppose PostgreDB, here few data is available. Now suppose I have a few data that is available as a CSV format. Like that I can have a data into the multiple places. Now what generally we do as a data engineer, our main purpose is like to bring all the data into the one place. To bring all the data into the one place so that we can perform a analytical operation. So what generally we do, wherever our data is available, in all the places our data is available, right? What actually we do, we try to do a ETL operation. We try to do a ETL operation, and we try to bring the data into our one place. That place is nothing but a data lake. That place is nothing but a data lake. So we try to bring all the data into a one place, and that is nothing but a data lake. And for that, what actually we do, we perform a ETL operation. Now once we have data available in a data lake, right? So most of the time what actually you will see the data which is available in a data lake, right? And that is a messy data, that is not a clean data. So after that, what actually we do, because we had to derive some kind of the matrix, we had to derive some kind of, we had to do some kind of the analytical, right? So for that, we had to clean the data. We had to clean the data. Now for cleaning the data, what generally we use? We use a Databricks, and in a Databricks we write certain kind of the PySpark code, or any other platform where we can write a PySpark code. So to write a PySpark code, we rely on the different kind of the platform. So with the help of that, what actually we do? We try to clean the data. Now once we clean the data, right, and what actually we do, we try to dump the data into the sometime in the SQL data warehouse, and from that SQL data warehouse, what generally we do, we try to connect with our Power BI, and we try to build a report. So this kind of the stuff generally we do in a real time. What generally we do, we try to perform a ETL operation, we try to bring the data into a one place, that is nothing but a data lake. After that, we try to clean the data. For that, we use a Databricks, and after that we try to dump the data into a SQL data warehouse if you have to build a reporting, and from that SQL data warehouse we connect our Power BI or Tableau report, and we build a report, and this report we share with the clients. Now in this case, if you will see, right, what actually we are doing, we are performing a multiple operation. For taking example, suppose if you are doing a ETL operation, this is the ETL operation. Now for that, suppose you are using a Azure Data Factory. Azure Data Factory. Now suppose Azure Data Factory you are doing. Now suppose you have to store a data. For that, what actually you are using? You are using a ADLS or any kind of the storage account you are using. Now suppose you had to clean the data. Now for this, what actually you are using? You are using a Databricks. Now for the data warehouse, suppose you have to store, what actually you are using a SQL server, any kind of the data warehouse you are using for the this. Now and also we are using a Power BI for the reporting. Now you can see, for each and every operation we are relying on the different kind of the tools, Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Lake Storage, Azure Data Bricks, SQL Data Warehouse, and the Power BI. Like that, we are relying on the multiple tools. So what Azure Synapse Analytics has done, it has bring all the tools together. What Azure Synapse Analytics has done, it has brought all the tools together. Means if you had to perform a data integration like ETL tool, if you had to do, you can do in Azure Synapse itself. Suppose you have to store the data in a data lake. If you have to store the data into the data lake, ADLS directly you can store, that is also available in Azure Synapse. Suppose in a data warehouse you have to run any kind of the SQL query, and if you have to create any SQL table in Azure Synapse itself, you can do that. And suppose you have to write any kind of the Spark code, what actually you can do, you can use a Azure Synapse itself for the Spark code. Means you can do a ETL operation, you can write any kind of the Spark code, you can store, you can use a SQL data warehouse, you can use a ADLS. Everything is available into the one common place, and that actually makes our life very easy. It's everything is available in one single place, and we can perform end-to-end analytical, and this will provide analytical solution. Means end-to-end operation we can perform in a one single place. So that is nothing but a Synapse Analytics. Few people thinks like Synapse is only about the SQL data warehouse, but it's not about the SQL data warehouse. This all the kinds of the operation you can do in a Azure Synapse itself. So I hope you got the idea, overall idea about the Azure Synapse. So Azure Synapse combines capability of the data integration, data warehousing, big data analyticals, and the machine learning into a single service. Means these are the capability we have in Azure Synapse itself. What are the key features of the Azure Synapse? Let's understand. Unified experience. It allows user to manage, process, and query data in single place. Means one single place your data is available. You can write Spark code. You can create a SQL data warehouse. You can use a ADF. Everything is available into a single place. So it provides the unified experience. Second is on-demand and the provision query. You can use on-demand query and the serverless SQL. So in Azure Synapse, you will get a serverless. You will get a serverless SQL. Serverless SQL. What is serverless SQL means? You do not have to maintain any kind of the infrastructure for this. What actually you have to do? Whenever you require to do any kind of the analysis, directly you can use a serverless, and whenever whatever the query you are writing, right, only for those you have to pay. We will understand more about this serverless, but as of now you can understand. Suppose you have got one ad hoc task. For ad hoc task you have to write a one query, and you require a one SQL data warehouse. So instead of creating one dedicated SQL, what actually you can do, you can use a serverless. Synapse will provide one serverless, and what actually you can do, you can write a query, and whatever the query you are writing, only for those you have to pay. You do not have to maintain any kind of the infrastructure. So that kind of the capability we get in Azure Synapse. We'll understand more about the serverless and the dedicated, but as of now you can understand this. After that, integrated with the Azure machine learning. It's also integrate, we can easily integrate with the Azure machine learning, and built-in Power BI integration. Means whatever the stuff you are doing in Azure Synapse, right, you can directly integrate with the Power BI and you can create a report. So that is the advantage we get here. Now what actually we'll do, we have understand about the theory part. Now let's see how actually we can create a Synapse workspace. We'll open a Azure, and there we will see how actually we can create a Synapse workspace, and we'll understand this with practically. So I open my Azure account. Once you will open an Azure account, right, what you have to do, in a search bar we have to search for the Synapse. Search for the Synapse. You can see Azure Synapse Analytics. Click on that. Once you will click on that, right, you can see Azure Synapse Analytics we can create. So click on the create button. After that, we have to select the resource group. If you haven't created any resource group, what you have to do, click on the create new, and you can give any name. So I already have created a Azure Synapse. I already created a resource group, so I will select directly that. But if you haven't created a resource group, you can create a new one and you can create that. After that, what you have to go, you have to select the workspace name. So as of now, I will give the POC Synapse. This is the workspace I am giving, but you can also give the unique name. Make sure it should be a unique, and this particular Synapse workspace we are going to create. After that, we have to select the region. So as of now, I am selecting this particular region. Based on your location, you can also select that. After that, you can see select data lake storage accounts. So whenever we create a Synapse workspace, right, it also provide us, if you already have ADLS accounts, you can select that, or you can create a ADLS account also. So as of now, we don't have any ADLS account, right? So what actually we'll do, we'll click on the create new, and we are going to create one ADLS account. So what I will do, POC ADLS project. One random name you can give, and with that ADLS account will be created. Click on the OK. Now after that, we have created a ADLS account. Now in a data lake storage, if you want to create any kind of the container, so that also you can do that. So for that, file system name. So I want to create one container name as a retail, or you can give any name. Suppose employee, this is the one container I want. So I'll select that. So this is the ADLS account. Under this ADLS, we have created one container, that name is employee. After that, click on the next. You can see here it is saying like use both. So whenever we create a Synapse workspace, right, one SQL serverless SQL also gets created. So for that, the login and the password you have to create. So as of now, what actually I will do, I will give the name, login name, admin name as a Manish. Make sure you should remember, so that you will be able to open the SQL server. And after that, the password also I will select. Make sure you remember this password. So you can see we have given the SQL name and the password. Click on the next, networking. Click on the next, next. You can see review and the create. Now you can review whatever the selection you had done. So you can see 5 USD. This is the cost per TB for the serverless SQL which we are creating. Now click on the create. So it is going to create a Synapse workspace. You can see the deployment is initialized. Once it will complete, right, we will see what are the things actually it got created. So whenever we create a Synapse workspace, right, it will create a ADLS account also, data lake storage account also, as well as the serverless SQL. So that we will see. Let's wait. Once the deployment will complete, we will see about this. Now you can see our deployment is complete. So what you have to do, click on the go to resource group. Once you will go to the resource group, right, you can see one ADLS account got created. So this is the ADLS storage account we have created, right? That actually got created. And second is the Synapse workspace. So you can see in the type, we can see storage account as well as the Synapse workspace. Now let's open the storage account first. Let me open in a new tab. And here we will see whether the ADLS account got created or not. So let's wait for that. So this is the POC ADLS project we have created, that actually got created. Now here go to the data storage, click on the container. Now we have also given one container name as the employee, so that also got created. Means our ADLS account got created and one container also got created. This is the ADLS account and the container. Here we can store any kind of the file. Now second is the Synapse workspace. So I'll click on the Synapse. This workspace also got created, right? Now here you can see once you'll click on the open Synapse Studio, right, one Synapse Studio will be open, and there only we are going to perform all the operation. But I will show you one more thing, and here you can see SQL pool. So whenever we created this Synapse workspace, right, one SQL pool, serverless SQL pool also got created, and with the help of that we can run any kind of the query. So this is the one SQL pool also got created whenever we created the Synapse Studio. Now what we are going to do, click on the open Synapse Studio. It is going to open in a new tab, and this will be a platform where we will do all the kind of the operations. You can see this is the Synapse workspace, and here you can see in JSON you can do any kind of the analysis. You can also connect with the Power BI for the visualization. So this is the Synapse workspace. In the left side you can see you are getting a multiple option. Let's understand one by one. First is the home option. The second is the data. Go to the data. In this data, right, if you go to the link, you will see your data lake storage also mounted here. Means you can directly access from here your ADLS account. Now if I'll show you, So we have created one POC Synapse, this particular ADLS, right? And also we created a container employee. From here itself, we will be able to access the our ADLS. So that is already linked. So that is the important thing. Now after that, go to third option is the develop. In this develop option only, we are going to perform all the operation. Suppose you had to write any kind of the SQL script, you can create a SQL script and you can perform the operation. KQL is also similar to the SQL, that also a script you can write. Suppose you had to write any kind of the PySpark code, if you have to do any processing, then you can create a notebook. And suppose you have to perform any kind of the data flow or the pipelines, then you can use a data flow. Means everything is you can do here itself. In a develop option itself, you can perform all the kind of the operation. Now after develop, the next is the integrate. So dedicated integrate is there. Now here what actually you can do, here you can create a pipeline. So if you know about the Azure Data Factory, right? In Azure Data Factory, you will see this kind of the thing, like all the kind of the data pipeline operation here also is available. Means you do not have to create a Azure Data Factory. In a Synapse itself, you can perform all the kind of the data pipeline. And if you know data factory, right? All the operations are same only. And here also you can do. The next is the monitor. If you are running any notebook, if you are running any SQL script, if you are running any pipeline, you can monitor here. And the next is the manage. So you can manage all the things which you have created like SQL pool, Spark pool and all. Now what we'll do, we'll go to the ADLS. So this is the ADLS, right? The employee container. We are going to upload few file and we'll try to see how actually we can write a SQL query, how to write a Spark code and how to do the data pipeline activity. So what actually I will do, this is a ADLS account, right? I am going to upload a file. So select that, click on the file upload. I am going to select a one file. So I will select one data set. This is the employee data set. Click on the open, click on the upload. It's going to upload a file. You can see one file got uploaded. Now we have uploaded one file. Either you can go into the develop or you can create a SQL script, or from here also you can see on the top, right, new SQL script, new notebook, new data flow also you can create. Now if I'll click on the new SQL script, what actually will happen, let's see. If I'll click on the new SQL script, right, it is saying me select top 100 rows. So we have selected this particular file, right? Now after selecting this particular file, if I'll click on the select top 100 rows, what will happen, it is going to write one query for you. It is going to write one query for you. What actually it is saying, like select top 100 rows from the particular file. Means what is happening, whatever the data you are storing into the ADLS, right, whatever the data I have stored into the ADLS account, directly that data you can query with the help of the SQL. So that is the advantage we get. So you can see the file is available in a CSV, but you can write a SQL query and you can analyze that data itself. So that kind of the advantage we are getting into the serverless SQL pool. So you can see here we have option built in. Built in means serverless SQL pool. So whenever we created a Synapse, right, if I'll show you, one serverless SQL pool got created, and with the help of that we can execute this query. We can execute this query. You can see the database is a master. Now let me try to run and let me try to show you. So you can see it is running, and what actually it is saying, select top 100 star top 100 rows from, the format is mentioned as a CSV because the file is CSV, and you can see bulk, this is giving the location of that particular file, and this is the parse version. With that, if you run this, right, you can see I am able to read my file. Now here also if you will mention the header true, if I'll mention header row equal to the true, because as of now in output you can see the first is header, it's not contain the it's created the new header, right, but I am mentioning header equal to the true. And if I run this, right, what actually it is going to do, it is going to consider the first row as a header. Now you can see we are able to run the query. Means any kind of the file you are storing in ADLS, and if you want to do analysis, you can write a directly query on top of that. So that is the advantage. So that we have seen, that is the first thing. So in a develop, right, we have seen like how to create a SQL script. Now I will show you how to create a notebook. So what I will do, I'll go to the data in a link service in employee. This is the file, right? What actually I'm going to do, I'm going to create one notebook, one Spark notebook for this. So if you'll see, right, it is saying like load to data frame. If I'll do this, you can see one notebook got created. So this is a one notebook. It is similar to the Databricks, right? In Databricks also we create this kind of the notebook and we write all the kind of the PySpark code. Here also you can do the same way. So you can see one notebook got created, and what actually you can do, you can create any kind of the PySpark code. So what actually it is doing, spark.read.load. So whatever the data, right, it is reading that. You can see it is mentioned the format as a CSV, and it is just displaying it. Means whatever the code you want to write, you can write into this notebook itself. Now to run this notebook, we have to create a Spark pool. So that part will come later. And you can see in a language part, right? You can write any kind of the language, right? Scala is there, Spark SQL is there, R is there, Python. Means you can write any kind of the code here with the help of the language selection. And for to run this, we have to create a cluster, but that we will see later. So as of now, we have seen like how to create, how to run the SQL script, how to create a notebook. Now after that, I will go into the develop option. SQL script and the notebook got created. Similarly, we also have option the KQL script also you can write. The next is the data flow. Next is the data flow. If you click on the data flow, right, you can see this kind of the thing we have seen into the data factory. So for that, what actually I will do, I will go into this integrate option. You can see this is the pipeline, right? Or you can click on the pipeline. New pipeline got created, and suppose I want to perform a copy data. So you can perform a copy data. How actually you can perform a copy data operation? For that, you have to write a source data set, and you have to create a data set like how actually we were doing in a data factory, right? Same kind of the stuff here also we can do. Means like we have a same kind of the options are available. Means any kind of the data pipeline activity also we can perform here. So that is the thing actually we get. And if you run this pipeline, that will run into the monitor option. Now we have seen like about the how to create a SQL script notebook and the data pipeline. Now what actually we are going to do, we are going to learn about the few more concepts. You can see in a SQL script, right? So we are saying most of the time this built-in is a serverless. What is the difference between the serverless SQL pool and what is the difference between a dedicated SQL pool? Let's try to understand that first. Then we'll come to this part later. Now what we are going to learn? We are going to learn about the serverless SQL pool versus dedicated SQL pool. SQL pool. Let's try to understand this with one example so that we'll get better idea. What is a serverless? Serverless is means you do not have to maintain any kind of the infrastructure. You do not have to maintain any kind of the infrastructure. Everything will be done by a Microsoft or Azure itself. Everything will be done by a Microsoft and Azure itself. Means suppose you had to write any kind of the SQL query. Suppose I had to write one kind of the SQL query. In this case, what you had to do, you do not have to maintain any kind of the infrastructure. What actually you will do, you will go and say, hey, I want to run one SQL query. So in this case, what will happen, Azure has provided one serverless SQL pool, serverless SQL pool. With the help of that, what actually we can do, we can directly run any kind of the query. Now how the payment actually happens, the payment is also very simple. Whatever the query you are writing, whatever the amount of the data you are processing, you only have to pay for that. You only have to pay for that. Means you do not have to pay for any kind of the infrastructure. You only have to pay whatever the query you are running. So that is nothing but that is a serverless SQL pool, and that actually available whenever we create a Synapse workspace. Now the next thing is like dedicated SQL pool. So what is a dedicated SQL pool? In a dedicated SQL pool, what generally we do, we try to create one SQL pool. You can say one kind of the data warehouse actually we create. We try to give all the kind of the DBU. DBU is a one unit. With the help of that, we'll get to know how much amount of data we are processing, how much size of the SQL pool is required, what kind of the data we are processing. Means we are creating one kind of the infrastructure. We are saying like, I want to process this much data, and for this much data, this many this many unit is required to run the query, to process the query. So what actually I am saying, for the analysis perspective, I need one SQL pool, and for that I am creating a SQL pool, and this many DBU unit. DBU is one of the measure, you can say. I am saying this many DBU is required, and you create one kind of the data warehouse for me. One data warehouse for me, that is nothing but a dedicated. You can understand like here we are also maintaining one kind of the infrastructure, because dedicatedly we are creating this data warehouse, right? One SQL pool we are creating. So in this case, what will happen? Even though you are not running the query, then also you have to pay the money. Even though you are not running, then also you have to pay the money. In a serverless, whenever you are running the query, then only you have to pay. But in the case of the dedicated, right, we are creating a dedicated SQL, and if you are not running the query, then also you have to pay, because you are maintaining this particular SQL pool. So that is the difference. Now if you are doing more kind of the analysis, more analysis you are doing, frequent analysis you are doing, where all the time you require one dedicated SQL, then we use a dedicated SQL pool. But suppose only few time any kind of the ad hoc query analysis you are doing, then you can use a serverless SQL pool. So that is the thing you have to remember. Now we have also seen one thing, like with the help of this SQL, right, what actually we are doing, we can directly run whatever the in ADLS, whatever the file is available, right, we can directly run the query on the top of that. So that is the advantage we get in the SQL pool in Azure Synapse. Now let's see with the practically. First we will see about the serverless. Few more file we will try to upload, and we'll try to run the query, and after that what we'll do, we'll also create a dedicated SQL pool. So let's try to do that. So whenever you create a Synapse workspace, we know, right, one serverless SQL pool will be created. That is already we have seen. Now what actually I will do, I'll go to the data. I'm going to upload one more file in an employee container. This is the employee container, right? Here I am going to upload one more file. How actually you can upload that? Click on the upload, select a file. I'm going to select this CSV file. Click on the upload. One delhi.csv file got created, uploaded. Now you have to run the SQL query on top of this. What actually you have to do? Click on this particular file. Click on the new SQL script. Select top 100 rows. You can see it selected the file, and it's connected to the serverless SQL pool. And if you just have to run that. You just have to run that. You can see by default it is also providing me all the kind of the query also. So and you can see header is not coming properly. So for that, what you have to do, header row equal to the true. If I'll do this, and if I'll run this, it will select the first row as a header. You can see I am able to read that. Even if you have a JSON file and other file, that also you can mention, and you can directly run. So open row set is a one of the thing which is available. With the help of that, what actually we are doing, we are directly able to run the query which is available in a ADLS. So that is the important feature also. So that also you have to remember. Now we can see we have used the serverless SQL. Now let's see how to create a dedicated SQL pool. So go to the manage. Click on, you can see one SQL pool is there, right? Click on the new. You can see dedicated SQL pool. So we were saying like what actually we are doing, we are creating a dedicated SQL pool. First you have to give the SQL pool name. I'll give the SQL pool name as a dedicated. You can give any name, and you can see this is the performance level. Means you have to specify how much performance actually you required. So you can see based on the performance level, the cost also is increasing. but I will select the very minimum because I just want to, we are just doing a practice, right? I will select the minimum one. You can see for the price is 1.2 USD for this. Click on the next. Do you have any existing data? That also you can do that. And after that, click on the next. You can see we are creating a dedicated SQL and we have selected this many unit, and based on that our query performance actually we have decided, and this will be available all the time until you close it. Even though you are not running, then also you have to pay amount for that. So you can see we submitted the request to deploy. What actually it will do, it is going to create one dedicated SQL full. You can see built-in is already available. Dedicated is deploying. Once the dedicated will be available, right, we'll also try to run the query with the help of the dedicated. So in a Spark, right, we create a cluster, right? We select how much machine is required to process the data. Similarly, here also we create a dedicated SQL pool. You can understand like this. And here we select the what is the data warehouse unit actually is required. Let's wait it to complete. You can see it is successfully deployed also. Now what actually we'll do, now you can see one dedicated SQL pool got created. Now if you have any kind of the tables and directly you want to run on that query, you can use a dedicated SQL pool and you can run that. So that is the difference. So I have just showed you how to create a dedicated SQL pool and the serverless. Now what actually we'll do, I'll just delete it because as of now this will cost otherwise, so that's why I'm just going to delete this. So it is saying like please type the dedicated SQL pool name below. The name is dedicated and click on the delete. Why I have deleted this? Because I just wanted to show you how to create a dedicated SQL pool and you can run a query, any kind of query on top of that. So let's learn about the Spark pool. What is a Spark pool means? The Spark pool is nothing but it is kind of the one kind of the cluster. What is a cluster? It is a group of machine, you can understand. Suppose in a big data, right, generally whenever you have a large kind of the data, what actually we do, we try to process the data with the help of the cluster, with the help of the multiple machine, because one machine will not be able to process this much amount of the data. So what actually we do to create this cluster, right, in a Synapse workspace, we have to create a Spark pool, and here only we have to mention all the kind of the cluster details. So that actually, let's see how to create a Spark pool and how to run a PySpark code and how to execute that. So I open that in the develop option, right? If I'll go to the develop, or if I'll go to the data, this is the employee data. In this employee data, if you'll click on the new notebook, load to the data frame, you can see this is the one Spark code actually has written, PySpark code has been written. Now if you want to execute this, you had to have one Spark pool. So you had to create that. How to create that? For that, go to the Synapse workspace. Whatever the Synapse Analytics you have created, right? Go there. You can see new Apache Spark pool. So click on that. Give the Spark pool name as a POC Spark. You can give any name. And after that, you can see you have to specify the node size. Means whatever the whether you want a 64 GB memory, 8 core, 60 core, 128. This all the things you have to specify. I'm going with the small one, small node size. Auto scale, whether you want to auto scale the node size, but I want to disable it. I don't want that because we are doing a practice. The number of node, I will go with the minimum is the 3, that only we are going to go. Allocate executor, will go with the disable. You can see it is costing a 1.71 USD per hour. Go to the next. This also we will disable, and allow version level package, session level package, and disable. Next. And in the previous we have a this also, let's try to minimize. Click on the next, review and create. What actually it will do, it is going to create one dedicated cluster for us. With the help of that we can execute our PySpark code. Means you can write any kind of the PySpark code and you can execute that. So you can see the deployment is submitted. Once the deployment will complete, we will see how to run a Spark query. Not query, Spark code. You can see it is complete. Now what we will do, we'll come here in Azure Synapse, select that. You can see one Spark, POC Spark, right? This is the cluster got created. Now with the help of that you can run. You can see as of now it is not started. But if you want to start, you can do shift and enter. This will start. Means this will start running the code. You can see it is connecting. It is running also. It will take some time to start the cluster. Once it will start, what actually it is going to do, it is going to read this particular file and it is going to create a data frame and it will show the data. So with the help of that Spark pool, we have created a cluster and we are executing. And you can see it is saying like the small and the 3 node cluster. Now you can see it ran the query and you can see it run the code, PySpark code, whatever we have done. It is created one data frame. It read the file from the ADLS and you can see we can see the data also. Like month wise how the sales is happening, that data actually we can see. Means here only we can write any kind of the PySpark code and we can execute that. So that is the kind of the flexibility we get in a notebook in a Synapse itself. So we have learned about the SQL, we have learned about the Spark. Now let's see how actually we can create a data pipeline. So what actually I will do, I'll go to the data lake storage in an employee container. What actually I will do, I'm going to create a new folder. The folder name is clean. One folder actually I'm creating. Now what actually I want, you can see one folder I have created. I'll pick the data from this employee CSV. This employee CSV, this data I will read and I want to convert into the Parquet format. So I will use that one data pipeline that will read this employee one CSV, that will convert into the Parquet and it will store into the clean data. So for that one pipeline is required. So I'll go to the integrate, click on the pipeline. We are going to use a copy data. So I'll select that. What is the source? So for first we will create a data set. What is our source? Source is the data lake, right? So you have to search here where the data lake is there. Once your data lake will be available, right? Search for the data. You can see Azure Data Lake Storage. Continue. Our file is CSV, so I'll select the delimited text. Click on the continue. After that, we will create a link service so that we will be able to connect. You have to select the subscription. You have to select the storage account. You have to click on the create. And after that, you have to select the file path. So which particular file you want to do? I want to select this employee1.csv. Select that. First row is header. Click on the OK. This will, so our source is now ready. If you want to preview data, click on the preview data. You should be able to preview the data. So I have able to read the CSV file. Now where you want to store, I want to store what is my target. So for that also I have to create a data set. My target is I want to store in a ADLS only, but I want to store as a Parquet format. Click on the continue. I'll use the same link service which I have created. Now where you want to store, I want to store into one of the folder, that is this clean folder as a Parquet format. Click on the OK. Click on the OK. This is a one pipeline we have created. What actually it is doing? It is going to read from a source. It is going to load into the target as a Parquet format. Now if you want to run this, you can click on the trigger now, or what actually we'll do, we'll click on the debug. Debug is also going to run the pipeline. So let's see whether it is working or not. What actually it will do, it will read the file from ADLS and it is going to convert into the Parquet and it is going to store into the another folder. So that is the operation it should do. Let's see whether it is working or not. It is in queue only. You can see it is succeed now. What I will do, I'll go to the data in employee container in a clean, right? The Parquet file should be available. You can see one Parquet file is available. I just double clicked it. You can see employee one the Parquet, means our pipeline is working fine. So like that you can create any kind of the pipeline, means all the kind of the operation is available here. So you can see copy data, even if you want to do any kind of the data flow, that also you can do. So for data flow, what actually you have to do, you have to create a data flow, right? How to create a data flow? Click on the plus in the develop, right? In the develop, click on the plus, click on the data flow, and here you can select the source. So suppose I am selecting the same data set. Source is my CSV file. This is the source I have selected. Now here you can perform any kind of the transformation like joining, exist, union, derive column, all the kind of the operation is available that you can do, and you can copy into the sync location. So you can perform a data transformation, you can create a pipeline in an integrate option also. Only one thing, this all the options are available in a Azure Data Factory, but only one new thing you can see in a Synapse. One new thing is coming, that is a Synapse. What does it means? What actually we'll do? In a Synapse, we are going to select the notebook. So whatever the notebook we were writing here in a develop, right? Now suppose this notebook you want to schedule. So in a data pipeline itself, what actually you can do, you can select that notebook and you can run that. So that is kind of the thing also is possible. So yeah, that's it. So I hope you got complete idea about the Azure Synapse, how to write a SQL, how to create a dedicated SQL, how actually you can write a PySpark code, and how to create a data pipeline. I hope you got the idea, and that's it in this. So thanks.